We're in Lagos, Nigeria, having a very pertinent conversation looking at access to finance.
There are women who just stay at home and they have talent. They have talent and they need capital.
So when I got there, they said, oh, thank you, but they unfortunately will not give you without a collateral.
Even if it is small scale businesses, they are still looking for how to bring their community into it.
We've created programs that target women specifically, enabling credit for them to enter historically underrepresented, well, say, professions or trades.
Hello and welcome to State of Africa. My name is Jeff Morte.
And I am Chisom Ajiluchukwu.
Today we're having a very pertinent conversation looking at access to finance. We're in Lagos, Nigeria, and this particular conversation has everyone needed to have it. Those who are using this particular capital to start and grow their businesses, and those on the other side who are dispensing that capital.
It is centered on the lived experiences of women, and they are in this room. However, I would love them to introduce themselves. I'll start with you, Chituru. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your business. We are interested in your business, background about your business, how you started, how you got here, and what it looks like right now.
My name is Chituru Senengere. I'm into agriculture.
Okay.
In the area of pigs. I have pig farm and also cassava farm.
Okay.
Yes. And what prompted me into it was because one day I went to the market and I said, please, I need just 1K meat, cow meat. They said there's no 1,000 naira cow meat. I said, how can the average and common man survive? I said, wow, definitely I can start something. Let me start trying to save so I can start a piggery farm that at least people can come. Now it's going, people want pigs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was what prompted me to the business. And aside that, and I said, okay, Gary is not a problem. Even the food that is meant for the common man cannot afford it again. One pint of Gary, they will tell you 3,000. I said, if I can produce this, and rural areas, they really need this. And this, some of them, they eat it morning, afternoon, and night. But if they cannot afford it, how would they not eat? I said, okay, I'm going to go into cassava farm, so I can get, let's say, I will get a place. It's not my place, it's my husband's place. Then I'll just tell them, please, let me just employ laborers so they can farm. So currently I have enough cassava that at least there'll be food. I'll contribute to the economy of my community first.
Wow.
That's really great. And I love that your why is needs based. Like you found that there's a problem and then that's why you started your business. I think that's really fantastic. So over to you. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your business, how you started and what it looks like right now?
My name is Mary Vincent. I live in Sabah Gunu community, Kachia local government, area of Kaduna State. I'm a mother of 3 kids.
Wow.
I studied National Diploma in Accounting in Ubamali Polytechnic in Zaria. And I am an agric entrepreneur. I'm 34 years old now. Actually, how I started my business was I was living when I got married because I was living in the village when we married, so let me move to the city.
Okay.
So when I moved to the city, I tried to actually work according to my mom because she advised me to work so I can support her with my siblings. So there was no job. I was teaching in primary school to gather money for my business. My salary was 4,000. I can't even cater for myself, not to talk about supporting my mom. So I go into washing clothes, So I told my husband, I said, my children are growing. And I don't want them to pass through what I went through. Because the way I wanted to study, poverty didn't make me to even get close to it. So I told him, I want to go to Abuja and do house help so that I can come back and start a business because I look at the world. I say there is no way for me to get anything from anybody.
Okay.
So let me make a move myself.
Okay.
So I moved to Abuja. I told my husband, he said, people will laugh at him. I said, don't worry. We will lie to them that I got a government job. And I took my children to my mom. I lied to my mom too because if I tell her I'm going to house girl, she will not agree. So I lied to my mom that I got a government job in Abuja. She said, fine. She was happy that God have answered her prayer. So I went there. I did house girl for 1 year. So when I did house girl for 1 year, I gathered capital for myself. Then I returned back to my village. That was how I started my business.
And it's interesting because she had to move from her home to Abuja, work there, even having to lie to the family to get this particular source of funds. And that money went straight into farming.
Yes.
All the money from Abuja
Yes.
back to the farm.
Yes.
And you were growing ginger at the time?
Yes, I was growing.
Zainab, over to you. We would like to know, tell us about your business, how you started your business, and what your business is like today.
Okay, I'm Zainab Abubakar Inua from Kano State, a licensed community health practitioner and also an entrepreneur who is driven by the passion of building the capacity of women, youth, and those with disability into agro-business journey. So, firstly, I was not the one. My mommy was my mentor, so she was the one that drove me into business because my father was an Air Force. I lost him when I was 7. So my mommy started creating something, this processing in local forms because the area we are is a ghetto area. Okay. So she started processing in the local forms just to tie like maybe maize powder, maize flour. Okay. She would tie it and start selling it. So it started bringing money. So after then, my father's inheritance, that's the sponsorship they give, the Air Force gives. So after they shared the inheritance, his family and ours. So they gave us our own share. So my mommy was like, okay, how do you see it? How are we going to do it? Because I was just very young. I don't know anything regarding business. So she said, how are we going to put the money? So I said, all right, what are we going to do with it? She paid our school fees, everything, the debts. She paid everything. So the little that remains, we started that business with. So as time goes, we are repackaging our products, leaving that local markets. We started with repackaging, we started with branding. So she was following people who has the ideas of that business. So how can I do this? How can I do that? So I process different agri-food into different forms. Okay. That's natural foods. Okay. That's one. And number 2, I am also into livestock farming. Yes. And number 3, after my program from Songhai Mastercard Foundation, what I learned, I learned yogurt, different forms of drinks, natural drinks. So I then brought it up to the factory so that we should continue with it.
Chituru, in your story, you didn't mention the part where you went to a financial institution to take a loan.
Yeah.
Did it happen?
Yes, yeah. I walked into Imo Microfinance Bank, to access loan, and I was not requesting for a huge amount, just 5 million. Since I've started the piggery business already, I said, okay. I was happy when I said, okay, let me just go. At least, I said it will be promising. So when I got there, I filled the form, instantly submitted everything and all that. They said they'll profile me. I said, okay, thank you so much. After the profiling, they transferred me to a smaller room. I should go and check, let them assess me and all that. I said, no problem. So when I got there, they said, oh, thank you. But they unfortunately will not give you without a collateral. And I have to bring land document as a collateral. I said, I don't have land document. My father doesn't have. Where will I get it? I was sad, so I left. Then they said, you must get something. I said, even if it is something that worth that amount of money, if you have plasma, anything that can. I said, I don't have. But I said, you can come to the farm. Just come and check. If there is any problem, just come and hold me. I'm ready to pay. I will pay. But please, if I can have this, it will help me. So, unfortunately, that one. Then I went to Finca to access loan. They said they will not give me because I must have a kiosk. That's all this petty trading business. I have to have a kiosk. They will come and see the kiosk. I said, I don't have a kiosk. But I will definitely pay back. I'm not going to run away. You can come to the village. You can see my farm and all that. So that was it. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it. And I went to First Bank.
This is the third one?
The third one.
Okay.
I said, let me try First Bank. That was last year. I said, let me try First Bank. Since I bank with First Bank, let me see if I can get. I was happy seeing somebody that at least I know the person's face. I said, ma, please, look at what I want. And I am ready to submit any documents that you want for me to have access to this. So The woman I said, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Why? Because you are an individual. Had it been you are a corporate body, I say my business is registered. If you want the CAC certificate, anything you want, I can. And also, I am a legal practitioner by God's grace. I'm a lawyer. So I advocate for the rule of law. So I said, if there's anything, you can come. You have my Spring Court number. You have access to every. I said, no. So that was it. So I have to close my mind to say, I'm not going to bank again.
What's your take on, financial institutions and perception when the young woman entrepreneur walks in there to get that particular money and some of what she has to do in order to get this particular capital?
I would say better times have actually come now to Nigeria. And we've also seen that even in collaboration with organizations like Uzomas, the Credit Corp, that now support banks to be able to also on-lend, to people within the community. One key important factor also that has helped us at FCMB is the partnership with MasterCard Foundation, where we can now be able to de-risk a lot of at least, challenges like this, to be able to give single-digit loan to kind of also enhances, businesses of, young women in Nigeria. And that is also growing very well, and I'm so impressed, with the kind of stories that we've had, how, Little Beginning has now become businesses today that has seen that growing and also leading to having one or two other, 3 businesses. And potentially, our bank is there to always support.
We also have Mr. Uzoma Nwagba, Managing Director, Credit Corp. And same thing to you. You've heard just a snapshot of what's happening across the country in terms of some of the barriers to access to capital.
Right.
And the mandate of Credit Corp is also cultural reorientation.
Right.
And in another way put, you could say it's probably just perception, on how to, gauge people in terms of the risk profile.
Yeah.
We've had someone who actually tried to go in, and probably the bank personnel just saw this is too risky, we're not touching it.
Right.
What's Credit Corp doing in terms of changing that particular perception, especially for this target market, this demographic, to get the finance they need?
So our work is really around changing the mindsets of the public around credit, because of course we have the issues of availability and access. We have the issues of credits assessment. That is, how do you know who's creditworthy or not? But even for those who are, there's another issue that is understated, which is that they don't even try. The other people see the financial institutions as too daunting to even make an attempt. And also the financial institutions themselves see customers as too much risk or too much work compared to, say, lending the money to a corporation or to an oil company, or buying treasury bills, or buying FX like some banks even do. So cultural reorientation is really working on both sides to say, you who are an individual, before you need credit, you should put yourself in a position or a state where you can be assessed properly for credit, which means just never put your money in cash and hold it on the pillow or wrapper. Try to get a financial tool, a bank account, a mobile wallet, something that shows your cash flow even before you ever need credit. So that at the time when you walk into a financial institution, and it can be microfinance or finance house, it doesn't have to be a big commercial bank, you have something to show for which you can be assessed.
We've heard about the journey. We've heard about some of the challenges that have been faced for these particular ladies who, despite those challenges, still went ahead, started their business, and have had them in operation for quite a while. I want to take a short break now, but when we come back after the break, we want to talk solutions, bridge that gap. How do we get these ladies closer to finance that they need, and these particular players in the finance space closer to these ladies to dispense this particular capital? Don't go too far. You're watching State of Africa. Back after this short break. Welcome back. You're watching State of Africa. Before the break, we're looking at their journey. We're talking about access to finance, and we're talking about young entrepreneurs right across Nigeria who are trying to access this particular finance. So we've listened to their journeys, how they started, how they tried getting this particular finance, and the barriers they faced in getting it. As we get into the second half of this particular conversation, we want to find out how we bridge this gap. How do they actually get this particular finance? And as we wrap up, we're committing to action because we don't know just to talk, and go to our businesses, go back to our ventures. We want to take action after this. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Welcome back to State of Africa. My name is Jeff Morton.
Welcome back to State of Africa. Chisom here. And we've been in this conversation with 3 young women who are business owners. And we've heard real life experiences of how they try to access finance. But we know that finance is just one part of a business.
Mr. Lamidi, I'll come to you because finance is one piece of the puzzle. But there's so many other things that interplay into first getting their finance and making sure their finance works. Once they get it, access to markets is very key. And I think we can just drill a bit deeper on that. What other services are financial institutions, FCMB, giving outside of the finance when it comes to issues like, advisory, when it comes to market linkages, information? How are we playing that role?
Yeah, I think it's one of the areas today that we're trying to really build lots of capacity. And that comes in partnership. One key achievement of this year has been the partnership with Mastercard Foundation, where we actually embarked on a massive education of a lot of women entrepreneurs in opening up their frontiers and linking them to markets, specifically to the kind of businesses that they do. They produce and also their specific area of concentration. So we try to bring a linkage between the individual women entrepreneur to the particular market where they can distribute their goods. One of the things that I've also seen is that linking them to other players within that particular area kind of also open up and also give them access to typically machinery, some of the things that you mentioned. You could see the manufacturer of that comes in to kind of at least now have a kind of discussion with the individual that needs, and that ease off. And a bank can come in to actually broker relationship to say, okay, my customer wants this, you can provide or deduce, and then I can give you. There's also some other relationship that we're trying to look at with government. One of the things I've been discussing recently, I had a meeting with the Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Industry. And for me, the message I took to him was I needed to bank at least minimum of 15,000 youths with about 70% women entrepreneur in every local government in Nigeria.
Wow.
That's 774 local government. Because I know when I do that, I've been able to touch the lives of people, the real people. And it's also in line with the government agenda, which at least Uzoma represents to say, okay, how can we actually take people out of poverty? The discussion is still ongoing. To say, okay, we're the only bank that's actually come out with this kind of initiatives to be able to actually drive business entrepreneurship all through to the local government level. So we can be able to help people rather than thinking government will give them everything. At least when they are empowered and inspired by a bank, then everybody, there won't be restless youths that's only trying to fight.
Yes.
Everybody thinks of at least how they can cater for their families, and then we'll start building capacity.
I want to come to you, Uzoma, because even as you talk about access to this capital, there are many ways these entrepreneurs can get it. They can walk into traditional banks and get it. But digital loans are also increasingly becoming popular and growing in terms of this access to capital. Right. When it comes to Credit Corp's role in terms of making sure, first of all, these digital loans are safe and affordable, because that's also a piece of the puzzle that's not directly linked to finance.
Right.
How are you playing that role in giving those guardrails?
I think our biggest job when it comes to enabling capital is to make it more affordable. So in a high interest rate environment where people access loans that are going as high at a minimum of 3% per month, which is 36% per annum, on the lower end, and it obviously costs more for many more people. We are enabling loans that land you somewhere between 15 to 20% per annum, and depending on your risk profile, maybe a little bit more. So we are providing capital to institutions like that of Mr. Lamidi to enable them lend to people at cheaper rates, because they access the capital at expensive rates and they have to put a margin on it. So if we drop the price for them, then they pass on the savings to the customer. But at the heart of this issue of capital is also just data. And that's where the digital loans tend to win, but they are also constrained within its particular group of people. That's people whose data they have. So if I go to my FCMB app or my MoneyPoint app or any of these fintechs and I want to request a loan, I have to put in my BVN and I have to put in some information about myself, for which the algorithm then makes a decision on whether or not to lend to me. It's better if the bank or institution already has information about my investing patterns, my saving patterns, how much money I move. And a lot of financial institutions or even a lot of borrowers don't have that much information provided, which is why, in as much as we are bashing the banks and saying the banks are not lending to people, we should also realize that the banks can't tell who is good credit or who's not. Which brings me to the issue of infrastructure, which is actually a major part of our work that's just going to take a bit more time. So you've seen a lot of talk about Credit Corp giving money to institutions to lend to people cheaper. But I think where we actually win ultimately is where we can centralize credit reporting for the country, working with the CBN and the credit bureaus, such that no matter where I go to look for a loan, that institution can check my credit history and it is complete. If I borrowed money from a loan app or a loan shark or from a telco or wherever I borrowed money from, I cannot escape that record being on my credit report. And I think when we get to that point, then people like Chitru, Mary, Zainab, they will not have the difficulties that they're having now. Because you go to the bank and the bank is trying to figure you out, which is why they go to headquarters, delay you. They're trying to understand who you are. But we don't need to do that if we just have one place where we can see all your borrowing history ever and a credit score that means something. Right. So until we get to that point, we'll still be having some of fragmentation and best efforts by the financial institution. But those best efforts will not translate to ease of credit for every single person who tries, or at least a decision that is very clear. That's where we are now.
We have come to that part of commitment, because this has been a very insightful conversation. And one way to cap it up is telling ourselves what we are going to do when we leave this place. So when you go back to the farm tomorrow, or whenever you go back to the farm, what is that one thing you are going to start doing differently to make you ready to access finance?
Okay, I'll make sure that my account record, financial record, there is sanity in it. There's no illegality or maneuver. And then I'll make sure I have an accurate track record that can qualify me, that will not bring any fishy, let's say, demerits.
Okay. Let's move over to you, Mary. Same question.
Actually, I believe in myself and I have confidence in myself. So when I go back, I will make sure that my financial record in the bank is properly kept, and I will do everything possible by the grace of God to make sure that I am straightforward in everything I do as transparency.
I love that. Now over to you, Zainab. What is that one thing you're going to do differently?
My colleague has already said what's in my mind. But actually, not only me in my community wants to seek for a loan. There are many women in their house. You know, in the north, our husbands, although my husband is a Yoruba, but my colleagues' husbands believe their women will just stay at home, and they have talent. They have talent and they need capital. So this is inspired me a lot to explain to them that this loan, you have access to loans, this and that. You understand?
I understand.
That's one. And it will enable me to bring my credit record, because since when I was discouraged from the bank, I'm not keeping record. Yes. I'm just buying, selling. So this has inspired me to keep good record and to also move back to the bank, because now I'm already gingered, so I can go to any bank, face any bank, because I'm together with FCMB and Credit Corp. So this is what I think.
Thank you, Zainab. Every time Zainab speaks, I'm inspired because she keeps speaking beyond herself. Now she's saying how she's going to go back and educate other women in her community on how to be credit worthy. Yes. I am inspired. And just to mention about your record keeping, there are really easier ways to keep record digitally, right? So I'm glad that we are all looking to keep records, right?
Yes.
And one easier way to do it is digitally. Right? So over to you, Jeff.
Okay, because we've heard one half of this particular equation. They're getting ready for this particular capital
happy
to come
for
their way.
Yeah.
Love it. Want to talk to the dispensers of capital because they're here as well. Mr. Lamidi, I'll start with you because we're talking about what you do tomorrow, essentially, when you get back to the office. You've heard the story. What are you committing to?
Yeah, I think for me, it's very clear. And for Gertrude, Mary, and Zainab, it's for me to go back and have to intensify more efforts in financial advocacy and literacy. Financial education is key because that will help me to be able to make your life easier by putting more information out there on how to keep bookkeeping, records keeping for your cash flow so that anybody sees it. Might not be my bank or any other bank. They know the businesses that you do. They know what is your credit and debit, what comes in at the end of the month when you sell, and what goes out when you are making your expenses. Those are the stories that banks want to see. That helps them to now measure at least how well you've kept your business. And it's not as if you are just making this money and you are filtering them away by just spending recklessly. So that is important for me. And as a bank, I have to put the words out there. Also letting women entrepreneurs understand that there are available credits today that they can actually get and secure to make their lives better.
Uzoma, same question to you as we come to the end of this conversation. What are you doing tomorrow morning in the office?
So for us, is to continue to reorient the public around preparation. Now, I would also say to you, Chichuru, Mary, and Zainab, that, and to your communities, when you are keeping the records of how your money moves, especially digitally, as much as possible, also do your financial transactions digitally. So less cash, more digital. Because sometimes that is what a bank statement would now show. That may make you need to show less of inventory and cash flow and bookkeeping. If you're just doing your transaction digitally, then the bankers can figure it out by just looking at it. So as much as possible, stay away from cash and go digital, as much as it's allowable within the community you operate in.
This conversation is about young women here, but they keep bringing their community into the conversation. Tells us that young people have moved past looking at themselves. Even if it is small scale businesses, they are still looking for how to bring their community into it. And obviously, this would not stay with me. I'll go back and begin to encourage other people.
We've been speaking access to finance, talking about some of the stories behind it, the challenges to it, but more importantly, the solutions moving forward from every player in the room. That brings us to the end of this particular conversation. Ladies, gentlemen, many thanks for making time for this conversation. And thank you for staying connected with us. You can always follow this conversation on all Aladi social platforms. Until next time, stay inspired, stay engaged. This is State of Africa.
Thank you.
Thank you.